Good morning, everybody. This is IT Live, and it is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Sorry for being a few minutes late. We had some technical difficulties, but we are here with you. I'm Texas Homer. That's Ian Boyd. This is the Wednesday show of game week. So that means we dive into schemes specific to the upcoming matchup and not just broader concepts. So I'm really excited. It's going to be a fun time. Before we do that, you guys need to join Inside Texas. Best analysis, recruiting, team news, all of that stuff. You will love it over there. The commentary and as well as the community are absolutely awesome. Get Inside Texas for $1 for your first week. As a bonus, your membership includes a complimentary year to the Athletic. Guess what, guys? Come celebrate with us on our 40th anniversary tour. We had Houston last night at Big City Wings. That was fun. Tonight is going to be Dallas, Texas at the Katy Trail Icehouse. I will be there, and it starts at 5 p.m. So if you're in Dallas tonight, come hang out. All the addresses are in the description. And then Thursday, we will be back in Austin at Little Woodrow's. Once again, 5 p.m. We hope to see you soon. Also, you should buy Paul's book, guys. The 2025 Longhorn Football Prospectus, Thinking Texas Football, is the #1 preview for the Texas Longhorns, but also SEC opponent previews, a recruiting piece by Eric, the modern world of NIL, all of that stuff is absolutely awesome. Link in the descriptions, guys, physical and digital. And Ian's new mic is solid, but it does pick up his typing. And so we just want to make him aware that you can hear it perfectly when he types there. But Ian got the new mic, guys. So
I thought you said it wasn't set to omnidirectional. The keys are in front of the mic. The mic is back.
Picking it up. So we can hear you do it.
I don't understand.
Guys, so you should hopefully, this is what we spent a couple minutes on, guys, trying to get the mic worked out.
Am I really clear, everybody? Am I way more clear than I've been for the last?
Clearer and louder. So yeah, there's the mic, guys.
Yeah. Maybe.
All right. We are going to talk first things first. Ian dropped a little preview of Ohio State, which I thought was really good. And it's more of a broad view about what the schemes like to do. Let me pull this up for you, though, real quick. It's Ryan Day's schemes as well as what we might see from Patricia. All righty. I don't know why that was so cumbersome, but here we go. All right, first things first. What's going on with this team? They lost a lot of players. Set the stage for us, Ian.
I think Ohio State is the only team that had more players drafted in the 2025 draft than Texas. Is that right? They had 14 and Texas had 12.
Yep.
Now, I think Texas having 12 guys drafted has been kind of skimmed over a lot by people. It's a lot. But for Ohio State, it's very noticeable because it's the entire defensive line. It's the quarterback. And there's a couple pieces that are just wildly different from a year ago.
Yeah, so it's a little bit same but different, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, same but different meme is basically for both teams, honestly.
Yeah.
I focused here on Ohio State. You could do a similar deal for Texas and how it's like, yeah, this is a Sark offense. It's the Pete Kwiatkowski defense, but it's going to be a very different iteration in each side. And that's going to have a gazillion ramifications for this rematch.
Cool. You ready to go Ryan Day offense first, brother?
Yeah. Let's talk about this.
All right. What is the Ryan Day offense? What does that even mean?
In my opinion, the Ryan Day offense is 3 verticals with NFL receivers. And the specific 3 vertical patterns that Ryan Day likes are the slot runs a bender up the middle, where he's basically running down the seam. And if he sees a safety across from him, he tries to cross his face and run across the middle. And if he sees the safety in the middle, he stays outside and stays up the seam. So the idea is he's always open, right? And then because the lineage of Ohio State slot receivers that they've been putting in that spot goes shoot. I can't remember the first really big one that they had. Dang. Well, Jackson Smith-Jigba made his name in that position. And then for like 2 or 3 years in a row, it's been Emeka Egbuka, who was awesome. They're both gone now. I think it's Brandon Ennis is next in line.
Yep.
For years, I used to think, oh, Garrett Wilson is gone. Chris Olave is gone. Marvin Harrison Jr. is gone. Now, we'll see how it is now. And then the next guy is like as good or better. And it's unbelievable. So I'm just at the point now where it's like, yeah, I'm sure Brandon Ennis or Mylan Graham or whoever ends up in the slot for them is going to be a monster. Then you have to adjust to that slot. And then comes phase 2 of this evil plan of Ryan Day's, which is that at least one of the outside receivers is also a future NFL star. It's Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave or Marvin Harrison Jr. or now Jeremiah Smith. And this year, it's Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate returning, or Mylan Graham if he gets in there. So it may actually be worse than it was last year if they don't slip in the slot, and I don't think they're going to slip in the slot. Brandon Ennis was like a 5-star recruit too. They're just like up to their eyeballs in blue chip receivers that are waiting their turn and developing in line in the same patterns. So that it's a lot. It's a ton of vertical stress on your defense all the time. Ryan Day dials up shots. He gets his quarterback synced up in all these routes, throwing to these guys. And even with Julian saying, it's like this is plan A for them and how they're going to attack you. And you need to have an answer for this, or else Jeremiah Smith could make you look really bad.
Yeah, it's scary at that Z and that H, right? They're just constantly finding a way to get that Z one-on-one with that corner and that H one-on-one with the safety. No matter where the safety's positioned, they have a side adjust for it. So he'll break in if they're playing too high, and he can continue if they're playing one high. And like we said, you're not just stopping one receiver here. It's going to be a little tricky. And then we'll also talk, there's the addition to Max Clare as well. They can turn it into 4 verts real quick and get true one-on-ones with everybody. So, yeah. And the Sark's version of this, like what his play action and deep game is built on, is the post-over concept, the Yankee concept. We've talked about a ton of times. So that's Sark's version on how he attacks defenses deep. It's a core philosophy. This is Ryan Day's deep version of that.
Exactly.
So that's what it's built off in the deep game. Of course, they're going to do all their screens and their RPOs and their underneath. And some of that comes because they do threaten this play. So guys do play back, and now you have underneath. But this core threat is the most dangerous aspect of the offense. And you see it a lot, man. They do these little benders in the middle of the field. You saw Max Clare. I don't know if it was this exact concept, but the route concept of that bender in the spring game, right? So you see this in Ibuka. They did it with Ibuka a lot too. So, and I really didn't pay attention to their offense that much back with their other stars because they were Big Ten and we never played them. But the past couple of years, I have been paying attention to them. They do that bender, which is what that route's called, where you can kind of bend it inside on the interior route. They do it really well.
I did because I was writing for IMGO blog the year that Michigan finally beat Ohio State. And I suggested a game plan for them to handle this kind of stress in my preview. And I was like, I think Michigan's actually going to beat Ohio State this year. It's one of the only they were also beaten down psychologically, and they'd lost to Michigan State and Kenneth Walker. So they're like, no, Ian, you don't understand. And then I wrote the post-game analysis of what they actually did. So I got a pretty good up close look at how Michigan was handling this for the last 4 years. And it got really funny because it was the same thing every year. And Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes couldn't figure it out every single year.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that. Some of the blueprint to answer that on the next part because it's tempting to just run it back because they haven't stopped it. But we'll hit that. That's going to be the B topic. All right, so just look at this graph, guys. Put it into your soul. It matters for this matchup. Okay, let's see what else. All right, I think you introduce. Do you want to talk saying here real quick before we introduce the potential kind of 12 personnel Max Clare world?
Are you going to use that question to prime us that somebody asked that you got marked?
Yep. Well, I have two of them that actually prime us. So here's the first prime on saying, and then we'll do the keep Claire and to pass protect. So what is the game plan of saying is actually good?
This depends on what kind of good. If he's like good in the same way that the other Ohio State quarterbacks were good in the stuff that we just described, then I think you just run back the same Michigan game plan, more or less. If he's good, like in a different way, and he's like attacking Texas in a different manner, then I don't know. It's probably just not going to be a very fun game.
It's well the key, right? Especially if they get running going, right? Then you're in a whole.
Well, if they can run the ball, then this game there's just.
Well, yeah. If our argument is they can pass deep, short, and run the ball, well, then
you're screwed. Yeah,
that's just.
Or you're gonna win. You have to win. The game plan is arch. Go do something legendary.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right. So that's what saying. What if saying is? So we have the two deep safeties. What if saying because of that quick release, if you watch the spring game, it was all kind of single step drops, quick outs, quick ends. What if they would go with like a nickel and dime and then, throw it to Smith short and hope he breaks a tackle for 40? What if they're playing that style and not pressing deep because of the two safeties?
That's great.
You'd prefer that?
Yeah. Who wouldn't?
Over deep shots the whole time? Yeah, but is that what you want, right?
Yeah, you at least want to make them prove that they can score in the 20s or more playing that way. So with some teams, like if Ohio State is at a certain level of execution already in week 1, then your game plan can't be this is how we shut them down. It has to be how do we limit them from getting in the end zone? How do we make a couple defensive plays that help us get over the top? There's not. As everyone knows, dystopian over here does not believe that this defense is going to be good enough to just shut down any given college offense in the right week. I just don't think they're going to be that good. I think the vast majority of college defenses are not that good. That seems pretty obvious. The vast majority of very, very good college defenses are not actually good enough to be able to go into any game and shut the other team down. Like, remember, the Texas defense in 2005 looked historically elite. And I remember just having this pit in my stomach in the third quarter or like midway through the fourth quarter when USC kept scoring in the Rose Bowl, just like, wow, these guys actually are as good as everybody said. Texas can't stop them, right? And then they made the fourth down stop and they won the game. But that's the kind of defense, that's the way you have to win if Ohio State is at a certain level in this game, is you make that big fourth down stop, you get the big turnover where Reggie Bush loses his mind and laterals the ball, whatever. Yeah.
Here's a question.
I don't think they'll be that good though. So.
Well, you're right. Whenever you're playing at the top of the sport, man, just like total defensive shutdown can be a little trickier. You just have to win the key battles. You don't have to win every battle, but a fourth down stop, a timely pick, these kind of things is how you can make it happen. This is a question I actually asked. I think it's Spencer Holbrook. He's doing a Q&A. He's an Ohio State writer. He's doing a Q&A on our board right now. Y'all should go check that out. But I asked him the same thing. How often do you expect Jeremiah Smith to go into the slot? If we do start a true freshman in Grayson Littleton. So what's your thought there, Ian? Because there's nothing in the rule book that says he has to stay as an outside receiver.
I mean, in my plan, for defending Ohio State.
Give me the quick version so we don't sell the whole second half of the show.
You're not going to play the nickel one-on-one with anybody. Like this, the thing is like, okay, what if Jeremiah Smith goes in the slot? Every play already has a what if Jeremiah Smith goes in the slot, because their slot is already better than almost any other slot in the country. It's already a problem. It's not like that much worse if Jeremiah Smith goes in there.
I was going to say, you would need this defense regardless because Brandon Ennis is good in the slot, right? So
yeah, it's not like it's Isaiah Satania and then they move Jeremiah Smith in there and you're like, wait a minute.
You just had to pick Satania, dude. It's
game changer here. It's already like Ohio State has like 5 guys that would be the new number 1 at Oklahoma or a lot of Texas's other opponents. So,
of course, and I'm proud of you for getting that in there. That was important. Okay, so we have Sane, and then the second really good question that was backing that up. Do we think we can get Day to overthink and keep Claire in to protect against the pass rush? I'm honestly most concerned about the damage he can do with all the attention required outside. So what happens? So quick personnel breakdown so you guys know. Max Claire is a big receiving threat. Kazmarek, who they have too, is a really good blocker. Yeah, you say it with a Z. I think it's like Eastern European.
They must have taken the Z out at some point in their time here.
I only know that from listening to a bunch of Ohio State stuff. So Kazmarek. And then Jelani Thurman, who they've also said they think Jelani Thurman has the highest upside of anyone on the team, tight end wise, as far as receiving and some blocking mix. Now, and then they also have a guy, I believe it's Christian Bennett, who they're 4 deep there. Bennett Christian blocking style. So Texas has this thing where we have a deep tight end room, but 99% of them are pass catchers. Ohio State has an actual mix of real blockers and pass catchers. So that means you can do 12 true 12 personnel, and really you can turn that 12 personnel into a functional 11 personnel by splitting Max Claire out in the slot to play more like a receiver. So what happens there, Ian?
Most 3 vertical spread teams leave the tight end in to protect when they're taking a shot down the field. That's just how you do it, because you don't need it. You're trying to create stress with your 3 receivers. So I don't think it's really overthinking if he does that. But it is a big concern if he can spread Claire around and attack Texas in space with more quick hitting stuff. And if he can spread Claire around and attack Texas with 4 vertical stuff, now you're really starting to get into trouble.
And Max Claire's pass blocking grade is not very good. So that's something to pay attention to as well. I don't know how much of that is function of Purdue. I don't know how much a function of that is the evaluators that gave the grade, blah, blah, blah. But definitely more of a receiving type. That's why you might want to end up in 12, where you can get Kazmarek, who's a top 4 pass blocker. Jelani Thurman's a top 6 pass blocker, and Bennett Christian above average pass blocker. So you can keep Claire in to get in front of somebody, the Texas style, just slow them down on their way to the quarterback. But they actually have real pass blockers at tight end too in some of their personnel sets. So that's going to be interesting.
I imagine they can buy time if they want to. Most higher level teams can buy time to take a play action shot now and then reliably. Ohio State definitely can. So that's not really, as I've said many times, you don't really beat these teams with pass rush. You have to cover at least to a point to force them to hold the ball.
Yeah.
Like even Sark was able to take a bunch of shots on Alabama with freshman Kelvin Banks and fresh off 2 terrible years, Christian Jones against Alabama when they had Will Anderson and Dallas Turner. Granted, both quarterbacks were injured, But they still created time to take play action shots. They took play action shots in 2021 when they had like no offensive line.
Also, you have all off season, right? You think Ryan Day is going to come into that game and be like, "Oh, we forgot about the Texas pass rush." So there's also like that factor too, right? It's not like a mid game. They didn't play Michigan the week before and had to prep that. You can create solutions, and you saw Sark's done that where we've X'd out important pass rushers. You can get the ball out quickly, all that kind of stuff. And then I talked about it yesterday on Ghost Show. You can throw quick in two different ways. You can throw quick short, and you can throw quick deep. So if they beat off the fade, you're spot throwing. Jeremiah Smith is now catching a punt. Can't throw quick middle because it just for whatever reason you need more time to do it. But you can remember Arches, Stone Blanton hits him in the ribs. He throws the fade. That's a quick throw. So when we say quick, we don't always even necessarily mean underneath. It can be quick deep, and so that's an interesting factor too. Someone asked about the running back.
Right. Quick deep from the spread is when an offense is really cooking. When they can do that, that's when you're really up against it.
Pass blocking grades, James Peoples. Now keep in mind, both of these guys, or James Peoples is low snap, but he's at 21. That's probably like bottom 75th in pass blocking. CJ Donaldson, a lot of reps at West Virginia over the years, so we have better data here, but new team. He's slightly below average in pass blocking. And Donaldson's a big back, so you would expect him to be a little better there, but he's not for whatever reason. We'll see. Okay, so 12 personnel is interesting. We hear all about the wide receivers all the time. They're going to be 3 wide, all that stuff. They have a lot of ability to go 12 here. And like I said, it's with Max Clare's receiving ability, you get the best of both worlds. You get the pass catching ability of 11 if they slot him out or even send him vertical from the line. And then you have a Kazmarek or somebody who can actually do the dirty work in blocking. So, and also if you go into 12, right, you might be able to force Texas out of that 2 high. You might be able to get them in that single high. And now your outside receivers, Tate and Smith, have a little bit more breathing room, not necessarily a safety on top of them the whole time. So there's also just value schematically into going into this 12 personnel look to try to force Texas out of a 2 high.
I think not so much. I think that's going to be a really nasty feature for Ohio State this year, but not against Texas.
You think they're not going to take the bait? They're just going to stay in 2 and
they can just play Jelani McDonald as a big nickel. And when you try to run the ball from 12, now you got him and Taff hanging around the box.
Yeah.
And you can do that from 2 high even. And when you try and you're like, okay, well, that means that we attack them in the pass game. Well, Max Clare on Jelani McDonald is not like a huge mismatch for Texas. Texas is not losing sleep about that. Jelani McDonald versus Brandon Ennis or one of those slots.
Right.
I don't think Texas wants to do that. But Clare all day, every day. And so because Texas has that flexible big nickel solution, I don't think 12 is going to be a big factor.
Force them to be too left-handed.
Yeah, I think, it doesn't draw out Texas weakness like against another team where the other team doesn't have in between like a coverage nickel and a base defense with an extra linebacker. Texas has this rare, big, super athletic safety guy that kind of thwarts the intention there in 12.
Perfect. Before we keep going, guys, this is a cool collab. Some things just go better together. Burgers and fries, Friday nights, and football. And now Academy Sports and Outdoors and Whataburger. For a limited time, exclusive Academy and Whataburger tailgate gear is coming in hot. Fuel your pre- and post-game traditions with fan styles and game day gear that say, I tailgate like I mean it. Hurry, this exclusive collaboration won't hang around long. Dig in now at Academy Sports and Outdoors, where fun can't lose. The Texas legend, Whataburger, baby. Did you think it was Waterburger for the first, half of your life? I think everyone I've known thought it was Waterburger at some point, not Whataburger. Chat, let me know what you guys think.
I might have as a small kid. I definitely, when I was telling my kids, like the oldest one was correcting the younger two, and he's like, not Waterburger, what a burger.
Yeah.
And then my younger son, got it in his head because we moved to Texas last summer after this last one and introduced him to Whataburger. And so he thought this is just like a thing you say in Texas when you have a really good burger. So we went to another restaurant that's not Whataburger in Liberty Hill, and he got a burger, and we're like in outdoor seating with all these people, and he takes a big bite and he goes, "What a burger!"
He just thought it was a common turn of phrase, huh?
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone I know when they were kids thought it was that. Okay, so you also have this thing where Ryan Day can get baited into ego ball. Ryan Day is the version of like the now I'm mad guy. If you test their masculinity at any point, and that can be beneficial for opposing teams and getting them to do what you want to do. But
what's the name of Ben Stiller's character in Mystery Men? He's like Mr. Fury or something, and he's like got a stress ball and he gets
yeah. You can get him into ego games really quick. So what does that mean? How could that be used to the advantage? And also, I thought Ohio State versus us, I thought Ryan Day makes sense and he's sound, right? Like, the moments where Jeremiah, it is single high versus Ohio State, and Jeremiah Smith is, manned up. They run, there's interesting moments where they weren't force feeding. I think he's pretty sound in his decision making, but that's also very predictable. Like, and Sark has said this, like, I want to face teams with known rules because now I can become an evil defensive coordinator. I can learn your rules and use them against you. The worst thing you do is when you play unsound teams. I remember talking to a former Texas quarterback. We played a team that was really sloppy, and he threw a couple picks. And he said it was just because the DB was wrong. It wasn't where he was supposed to be. And so he threw interception. He was right, but the DB was wrong. So you don't see that a lot with Ohio State, and that can add some predictability. But what is just a quick piece on their run game and being built for tough and all of that?
Yeah, so their deal is the same thing that you've heard Sark say, where it's like if the other team is going to play their safeties way back over Jeremiah Smith and all our receivers, then great. We recruit awesome offensive linemen. We recruit tight ends. We recruit 5-star running backs. We're going to run it down their throat. And this is the trap they got into with Michigan, where every year Michigan would do this and say, yeah, we're going to cover these receivers. And Ohio State would be like, well, we're going to run the ball. And this year we're really going to run the ball. And then they get out there and they could not run the ball well enough to win.
Yeah.
Sark does not have this meathead mindset. When he played Michigan and when he played Alabama, he didn't go in there like, we're just going to run the ball, and if we can't, then we don't deserve to win.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm going to flex my running backs and tight ends around and make their linebackers and defensive linemen chase them around in space and just manufacture a run game with quick passes to control the ball. I don't have to win by running the ball. It's like that's our philosophy. That's our ideal, but we're not going to like be stupid about it. Right.
Reality persists.
Ryan Day has been stupid about it for a while now, and it's hilarious. And it's a big problem too, because to win in the playoffs, as I've written on for a few years at my Substack, americaswargame.substack.com, if you're counting on going into the playoffs and winning against all the best teams by running the ball when teams drop back, you're going to lose.
These teams can defend boxes with 6 players. Like that's partly what makes them really good.
What makes them really good at the very best teams is that they have like multiple NFL defensive linemen, and they have huge, fast linebackers that know what they're doing. And so like the diminishing returns you get from trying to bang your head against the wall, running like inside zone or whatever, is drastic. Like to go from like the Big 12, for instance, where it's like if the other team has one NFL defensive lineman, your ears perk up because probably they don't.
Yeah.
And then like, well, if they drop back into coverage, we're going to run the dang ball. To think that that's going to translate when you're playing like Clemson or Georgia or Michigan, and like every single dude up front is like a potential early round draft pick, it's just dumb. Ryan Day whether or not he's adjusted to that could be the difference in this game.
Well,
and he may not have, because he just won a championship, so he's probably not feeling super like
adjusty. Yeah. Well, we just need to put it out in the media. It's like Ohio State, there's no way they're going to be able to run. So we can get a hell of a post game out of him at least. All right. Let's look at the defensive side of the ball. Matt Patricia, the new addition from the Belichick tree. Everything since Belichick has not been as good. Belichick since Tom Brady wasn't as good either. But Matt Patricia is in the game now. We need to see what he's going to do. Jim Knowles ran a super fun defense, a unique defense. We got to see some of it at Oklahoma State. He goes to Penn State, and Ohio State has basically kept everyone intact. I did not know Larry Johnson was there for 12 years. That's crazy. So they have this like unfireable, and why would you fire them? They do good, but like this core of position coaches that outlast these coordinators, which means that they have some real clout because generally coordinators get to do what they want on hire. So they kept a lot there. Patricia's kind of the new guy. So Paul's talked about this a lot. You know, the Patriots really like to game plan specific, very unique looks. The argument is, can you do that at the college level successfully, game in and game out, picking specific defenses and basically teaching players how to do it in a week? Now, Ohio State's had all off season. It's a little different, but that's the question. Or does he come in and run a similar base defense? You're not going to be able to run Knowles' defense. It's super unique. Even if you gave me Jim Knowles' defense and his playbook, I still wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to call it at the right time. Knowing your system at your heart, Mike Leach, knowing the air raid, he'll run it differently than another coach with the air raid. Same whenever you create a system like Jim Knowles. So, Ian, I know you've been pushing back on like running the same system, but where do you stand on? Do you think it's going to be super specific? I don't think it'll be that Patriot-y. What do you think with Matt Patricia?
What I think the trick with the Patriots is that they had a foundation of, we have versatile, smart linebackers, and we have enough defensive backs, enough cornerbacks really on our roster where we can play man coverage no matter what personnel package you're in. And the thing about man coverage, I was so tempted to build on man coverage in flag football. Because if you play man coverage, you get free players.
Yep.
You get like the quarterback player. You get, if you're playing with 4 defensive linemen against 5 offensive linemen, none of those guys are running a route. So you have 6 guys that are freed up, right? They're not going to have to play man coverage. And the Patriots could do all kinds of different things and game plan opponents because they could basically just shift their smartest safeties and linebackers around to blitz your weakest points and to bracket your best receivers. And then for everybody else on defense, it was still just business as usual, man coverage on this guy, you know? And so I do think that will translate at Ohio State. Because I think it's possible to build college simple game plans, just building on man coverage and then just shifting what your safeties do and what angles your linebackers take in the blitz. And I think that Ohio State's personnel I think the reason that they hired Matt Patricia is because they already are always aiming towards stockpiling man cover corners and huge freakish linebackers who can blitz. Like they were already forcing Jim Knowles to do more man coverage and to do more man coverage blitzes than he would probably normally have done if left to his own devices. So I think bringing in Patricia for them is just like, we're going to do what we really want to do and what we love teaching. And Patricia is going to bring a little more sophisticated coordination to maximize what we already want to do.
And you can free up Caleb Downs, man.
Yes.
And let him go full Palomalu and just play where his instincts tell him to play. So, yeah, that's a big fact. I think that's fair. I think that's a really good explanation. That's actually the most clear explanation I've heard of it. So, good job, man. I think you've got something here. You should do analysis, man.
Yeah, I got an article tomorrow that's going to explain more of this. So
cool. What do we
Couldn't
have?
quite finish it for today, sadly. So here's a big concern. Is I drew Texas here in like one of their normal 11 personnel formations with the tight end off the ball in the core is the Y. And Ohio State, they just play man coverage with their defensive backs, the nickel on the slot, the corners on the outside receivers, and Downs can key the tight end. And so he's kind of hovering around in the intermediate middle, and he's keying the tight end, and he can just go where he goes. And against most spread offenses, if you are just using the tight end as your key with your extra guy, that's going to be right a lot.
Yeah, if the tight end stays in, you can either choose to join the box, fit the run, or if the tight end stays into pass block, you can also just start to look for work in the middle of the field. It allows Caleb Downs to just kind of be everywhere at once, theoretically, which is interesting.
The tight end is going to take you to the ball a lot.
Yep.
Sark will try to like leak him out, like have him pretend to block and then leak out. But if you have somebody who's got like more careful eyes on him, then you can shut that down.
Well, that's the true advantage of running split zone and counter together, because then you at least have one play where the tight end is running opposite of ball carrier on split zone and then taking you to the ball and counter. But if you just run counter with no split zone, then the tight end is literally always taking you to the ball.
But if you put your safety on the tight end and have him account for any gaps he creates, then the linebackers don't have to. And so then they have less on their plates. And so they can just key the guards who are,
Yep.
There's a lot of different ways to do it, but I think this is how they will do it. And I think that it will keep Downs around the ball in places where we would rather not see him.
Yeah, that's a big theme with Caleb Downs. I'm just like, there he is, man, just lurking over the middle.
Also, Paul took a little shot at me in his article.
Did he?
With the nickel Lorenzo Styles and how they're kind of iffy.
Oh, yeah, I read that. Yeah, I read that. Ian would be scared to hear that. Yeah.
That I would be terrified if I don't know if Lorenzo Styles is I think that the reports of him being not great are a little overstated. I think when he can just play like man coverage.
So this is when I was telling Paul, I watched an interview with him and they asked him kind of, what are your strengths and weaknesses? And he was very honest, maybe too honest. And he was like, I like to play man. And then he was like, but I'm learning how to cover deep and like settle into zones. So I was like, okay. So he's not great at like understanding the broader scheme around him, meaning that he'll likely drop to a spot. But as far as like, a Makuba or like a Barron level awareness of like, I'm in my spot, but I don't have anything. Let me look for work. Here's an interception. He doesn't seem to have that. And then as soon as he says, I struggle, or being comfortable covering deep, well, that tells me you're going to likely have to cap him now with the safety. That makes coverages at least slightly more predictable than if that didn't happen. So, and I asked Spencer Holbrook, I'll see it after the show, but I asked him on the Q&A, how are you guys feeling about Styles? And I'll see his response.
They're going to be fine. I think it's.
You think they're going to be fine because they're going to cap him, or you think they'll be fine? He can go downfield and cover guys.
I think he'll just play simple man, and he'll be fine.
Okay. He's a former wide receiver from Notre Dame.
Yeah. He got I saw him on a slot fade in their spring game, and he was fine. I mean, that's one play. That's a one-off, but
it's an important route, though, to see.
Yeah. The zone stuff, because that's the thing about that position is that a lot of times you can get asked to do a million different things, and there's a lot to process because you're in the middle of the field. So you need like a heady safety's mind, but then a cornerback's body and ability to flip your hips and run.
Yeah.
So if they just keep it simple enough, I think they'll be okay. So take that, Paul.
We'll talk to him on deep dive. All right. Any other factors here? The Buckeyes interior D-line depth. Their two starters are pretty good. We looked at their run blocking and pass blocking, pretty solid. So I'm their front line should be solid. It's what happens with depth. I also asked Holbrook about what they think of their second and third string. We'll see. But any other little points about?
Yeah, here's a really big one. What is the weather in Columbus going to be for this game? What's the forecast? Do you know?
I have this machine that'll tell me.
A machine?
Yeah. I got a weather machine. Well, all the conspiracy theorists are like, I knew he had a weather machine. Let me see.
Are you seeding the clouds over?
Yeah, dude. All right, so Saturday should be a high of 71 degrees.
Wait. Oh, that's Columbus, Texas.
High of 71, low of 52.
Okay, this is a problem for Texas.
Right, we want to use the heat adaptation to our advantage.
A high of 71, it's possible that they can get away with playing their good defensive linemen for like 80% of the game. If it were being played in Austin, there's no freaking way. And they'd have to get deep to their bench. But it's not. So that's a big advantage. That's a big opportunity cost for Ohio State. When Michigan and Ohio State come to Austin in the next 2 years, mark my words. Some of these Big Ten teams are like good on the defensive line, but only if they're playing in Big Ten weather.
Yeah.
They don't have the depth to play in 95 degrees where if you're not cycling your big guys, they are just getting.
I was watching an interview. They were like, we have to see about this defensive line and the heat. It could, if it's 80 degrees. And I was like, okay, 80 degrees to them. They were like, all right, time to start cycling. If we could have got them at real feel of 103 and also on the field, it's like 130 degrees for whatever reason. So yeah, they do have the weather advantage there that I think that's a good thing to point out.
Yeah, there's so many different things. Now, Texas at least does not have to play their like skill players in cold weather. It's going to be it sounds like it's just going to be really nice weather in Columbus. It's going to be awesome to play in for everybody. There's a lot of Southern offenses and offensive players that like the NFL always watches out for this because you get into the NFL and all of a sudden you're playing in an enormous percentage of your games in outdoor northern cities. And it's a very different deal. And that's why they're measuring the quarterback's hand size and like they're questioning if Baker Mayfield is injury prone or whatever because he's short.
Yeah, man, but it's a different, like playing in the cold, man, it's much easier to heat yourself up than it is to cool yourself down. Like for defensive line, I'd much rather.
Yeah, the big guys love playing in the cold.
Yeah,
but the smaller and the fast guys, it's like I can't grip the ball. Or like when the defensive player hit me and I went into the ground, it freaking hurt, unlike anything I felt before.
Yep.
And I don't like it.
They also just have less fat on them. So the cold is like actually more effective.
Yeah.
So that's a little trick. All right, you ready to talk defensive blueprint here, Ian?
Yeah.
Before we do that, guys, let's hear a word from David McClellan.
I'm just going to say, guys, you probably need a fiduciary financial advisor. And I've got the guy for you. His name is David McClellan with Forum Financial. He works broadly and deeply with his clients as a financial life coach. And he should know something about coaching because he won several national championships as a swimmer for the University of Texas. He specializes in financial planning and has contributed numerous articles to Kipling on the topic of retirement tax bombs. So contact David today to be your fiduciary financial planner and schedule a 1-hour consultation to assess your financial situations. The free consultation is available, so just give him a call. The number is 312-933-8823. That's 312-933-8823. His email is also in the description below.
All right, so I got a response from Holbrook. I asked him a few questions, so I think this will be good. My first question was, how is the staff feeling about Lorenzo Styles at nickel and zone and covering deep? Is that position likely a mix of different skill sets? So you could have Styles and Bryce West, or you could have Downs and big nickel, and you can also move corner Jermaine Matthews for the little nickel speed stuff. Said, I've seen a lot of Texas fans talking about Styles. I'm not truly sure how much he'll be on the field. West will take some reps as well as Jermaine Matthews. Styles seems like a third and long nickel and zone to me. Downs will even play some nickel. I asked, on the interior defensive line, how are you feeling about the second and third string rotation? He said, I really like Will Smith Jr. as the third DT. We'll see after that. Malone is a fifth-year veteran who needs to emerge, and freshman Jarquez Hunter is getting a ton of buzz as a potential contributor. It's a wait-and-see mode for me right now at those spots. So, fair enough. Then I asked, just a quick question, how often do you expect to see Smith placed into the slot on offense? He replied, I expect Ohio State to move Jeremiah Smith all over the field. Obvious. That's what they did with Marvin Harrison Jr., and Smith has a more complete skill set than Marvin did, in my opinion. And then I asked, is 12 personnel more common this year with a mix of blocking style tight ends paired with receiving types? Ohio State ran plenty of 12 last year, and I expect that to continue with Claire, Kazmarek, Bennett Christian, Jelani Thurman this fall. All four of them will play like they did in the CFP last year. So good straight answers. Appreciate you, Spencer, for giving us the goods from the Ohio State side. Okay.
You have a lot of options. Matthews played the slot really well in the spring game, and he's going to be corner. But if Devin Sanchez is ready to start or play heavy snaps, then they can slide Matthews inside for that reason as well.
Yeah, and my ears perked up. I was listening to a Matthews interview, and they're like, what have you been doing this offseason? He's like, well, I want to become a better leader, blah, blah, blah. And I've been repping as little nickel. And I was like, okay, that's something that's important to key in on. So that means now we got to figure out who's the third corner. Is it Devin Sanchez? Is it Aaron Scott? Is it Aaron Scott Jr.? Like, who's the third corner now that comes in and when that happens?
Probably Sanchez.
He's nice, man.
He's
all right.
Been well reviewed.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's set the stage. We talked a little bit. The Michigan blueprint, Texas used that. It's a 2-high safety system, and it will bracket Smith and take him out of the game like that, right? So the whole tension of this article is like, well, okay, Michigan's done this for however many years, and Ohio State hasn't figured it out. Texas did it, and Ohio State still won, but they didn't win how they normally won. They get a screen and house it, that kind of stuff. So the tension is, why wouldn't you just do this again until they prove to you that they've solved it? Counter to that, from me personally, not from Ian's article, through all their interviews, they were not happy about Jeremiah Smith getting taken out of that game. They have said, like, during the offseason, we've been working ways to ensure that Jeremiah Smith stays a factor. So it is bothering them. Now, can they execute it right? Because the same thing in the NFL, they have all these star receivers, but their numbers aren't anywhere what they were 6 years ago because of 2-high. And a bracket's a bracket. Like, you can come up with a lot of concepts, but a bracket's a bracket generally. So but the point is, they have keyed in on this. They are kind of obsessive about this. They know it's a weakness in them. So does that lead to changing some things or not? Ian will give you an incredible analysis of this in just 1 second. Ian, what's the case for just keeping the good times rolling and playing the Michigan style?
I mean, that's what you just said. It's like, do it until they prove they can beat it.
Great points. So
you're taking a chance that they haven't adjusted well enough yet after yet another offseason of stewing on that Michigan loss. But what if they just can't figure it out? What if they're just incapable of making it work within their system without compromising something else that, it brings the house of cards down?
Or switching immediately to like time to be tough and run the ball. That's a factor they can do real quick too.
Yeah. Let's get into this in a second. That's a very interesting question that is a little different track than we're on right now.
Okay.
Another reason that you do it again is that if your plan is not, we're going to get back and we're going to bracket their receivers, then your plan is necessarily, we're going to trust our defensive backs in isolation against their receivers. I don't want to do that. Do you want to do that, Connor?
No, thank you.
I mean, we've heard good things about Muhammad this offseason. Maybe Littleton can play really good in isolation against their slot receivers, if whether that's their normal 5-star or Jeremiah Smith in motion. But I don't want to find out. That's what is the point? That does not sound fun at all. Why would we even consider?
Well, that seems like our version of ego ball, where they're like, okay, we're going to stop the run and we're going to see if Jeremiah Smith. It's like, I'll tell you right now, Jeremiah Smith can win.
That's exactly right. That's like, we're DBU and we've got it.
Yeah.
And we're going to check you in man. No, let's not do that, actually. Also, if you're like, what is the strength of this Texas defense?
Front seven.
The front six.
Yeah.
Six, yeah. How would you describe this defensive tackle group? Well, we don't know if they're super disruptive or athletic, but we know that they have lots of big guys that are hard to move. It all sets up perfectly to just do exactly the Michigan deal.
And our deal.
Put all the pressure on your defensive line to hold up against the run game and load up the back end and coverage, and do not give them windows to hit guys one-on-one down the field.
I like that plan, man. I think that's pretty good.
I don't think that's what we're going to do, though. I think they're going to change it up. They're going to change it up a little bit.
All right. Here's the case for getting after it. Hey, let's do some single high. Let's see what's up. So here's the case for the inverse, not too high safety, not bracketing, that kind of stuff. And we'll talk more about the middle ground that actually makes sense. But here's the other extreme.
This one I summed up as cut off the head and the body will die.
Single point of failure, baby.
Which is, me and Paul have talked about this all off season when we've mentioned this matchup, which is you just get after Julian Sayin and you confuse him and you pressure him very heavily. And then even if they find ways to get receivers running wide open down the field, he's not going to hit them because he's too busy looking down at the pass rush. He's too busy moving around and getting out of his base, and you just, single point of failure. Also a very good way of putting it. You just attack Julian Sayin and you say, instead of trying to figure out how we're going to cover all of Ohio State's many amazing skill players, we're just going to focus on covering Julian Sayin. And by covering, we mean slamming him into the turf as often as we can.
And fans are immediately going to jump to this because this is ego ball and it sounds awesome.
Yeah,
and if you can do it, it is awesome. It's a little bit tricky with this wide receiver core. There's some credence to it, though, right? Because it is such a fresh quarterback.
Yeah,
it's a fresh quarterback with good pedigree, guys. Like Sayin's a good quarterback. He's just young. So this is the case for going balls to the wall and really turning it up a notch. If it was Sayin next year after a year under his belt, it's a definite no. But this one right now, this situation, I'll allow the fans to make the argument for that when I normally wouldn't, given that piece. Then you're going to discuss.
Also, another consideration here is that it's possible they adjusted to the Michigan game plan after yet another year of disappointments against Michigan. And then, like you said, they didn't like that Texas took Jeremiah Smith out of the game. There's two ways to work against that. One of them, if you bring up that tight end thing again, part of what makes Michigan's blueprint against Ohio State work is that Ohio State could not get into 4 wide sets and throw to the tight end. And when they would pretend like they were going to, Michigan would be like, you're not going to throw to the tight end.
Yeah.
And they'd still just bracket Smith and Egbuka or whoever the guys were. Max Clare is a different sort of tight end than they've had before. So if Ryan Day can move out of his got to be Ohio tough meathead deal, and they start spreading Texas out and attacking them in a quicker spread passing game, then your deep brackets it's a lot harder to pull that off because all of a sudden your guys underneath are getting exposed in space.
And the brackets are normally up higher, so they're not even in the mix and relevant at shorter depths.
Yep. And also it's hard to, if they get 4 receivers that are in position to run a vertical pattern, then in too high, you actually start to run out of guys to bracket with.
Mhm.
And you end up with guys in one-on-one shots again. If they can protect while sending 4 guys vertical, which is a very big question mark for this game.
Well, so if they go 4 wide, you have 2 corners, 2 safeties. The safeties could bracket the 2 interior guys with the nickel and the other safety. Now you have free guys on the outside. So if it's 4 wide, you end up with 2 one-on-ones anyways in that situation. So that's the tricky part, going 4 wide there.
Yeah, 4 wide would solve a lot of their problems.
Yeah,
if they can protect. But again, I don't know if Ryan Day will even do that. So there's all these chances of like, hey, what if they figured out how to attack the Michigan blueprint better? What if they just change up their offensive style and spread it out like Sark would have done? What if they can just finally run the ball, which I doubt. Do you really want to just run it back in week 1 and have spent all your planning on something that might be behind the curve?
Well, here's the thing: is they were so sound, it worked against them. One factor: Hartline's now OC. He's going to be in the box. How much is he play calling? We can speculate, right? But if he is play calling, he's going to have a bend towards the wide receiver room. That's his guys. He knows those concepts the best. And also, Paul brought it up yesterday. Like, there's a factor with Jeremiah Smith that's like, oh, you have a safety. Like, oh, you have a bracket. Like, it's not sound to throw there, but you still feel like Jeremiah Smith can do something. The flip side is that is not how you want to teach a young quarterback to play football. You do not want to say, screw it, throw into double coverage because Jeremiah Smith's going to be all right. You want him to be able to read and a pre-snap go, okay, safety's over Smith. Now I have to look to another option. That's correct football. But sometimes when you have a game breaker like Smith, sometimes like I don't care if you got a safety over him. So there's that aspect to Hartline saying screw it, but also teaching Sane to play quarterback correctly matters too, right?
I mean, if their plan is to, if Julian Sane comes out there and is like, I'm just going to throw into leverage,
yeah,
I feel good about that.
Yeah, you hope.
Will Jeremiah Smith make a catch or two where it's just like, geez, maybe, probably, but will also like Taff pick off a pass, and will Jeremiah Smith be decapitated before the end of the game and spend the rest of the game with the training staff? Maybe. You know,
there's also routes and leverages you can cheat, right? So like if you're bracketing, it's like, say it's a nickel safety combo, you nickel outside, safety higher and up, you can still technically beat the corner. Like he can end up kind of in a trail, and then you can bend at the bracket of the safety inside to his leverage and then break back out. And then you've essentially broken that bracket, unless the nickel stays super high and outside, which they often don't do. So there's like
that Ohio State. Make that your plan.
Well, it's the thumb route. It's the Sark thumb route. Like it's a thing. But how often can you do it? How often can you get away with it? That kind of stuff where you bend in and then break out. But like I said, that's pretty niche to do.
That's so like the timing of that is really hard. I mean, again, it's like if they can do that, if they can say we're going to beat a Taff Muhammad bracket with the perfect throw and the perfect receiver, it's like, okay.
It also has to be
congratulations on your victory. You earned it.
It has to be within a cut split from the slot, because that's the only breakout ability. So it's like you also, and they'll do this Smith cut split. So it also how you line up would be a dead giveaway on that too. Okay. We heard run it back, conservative, probably wise. We heard I'm awesome, I don't care, man coverage. Fun if you can do it. Scary in every other situation. But Ian, always so reasonable. He finds a middle ground here for everyone to get a little bit of what they like. What is that middle ground, Ian?
They ran a lot of Tampa 2. Not a lot, but they ran a decent amount of Tampa 2 in this matchup in the playoffs, which I did not notice as much until I saw the All-22. Pretty typical. And Tampa 2 is a very interesting solution because it's way more zone than the 2 high. but everybody is kind of protected. Like if they play Tampa 2, they could maybe even get away with Taff or McDonald in the nickel instead of Littleton. If they just like went straight zone on every play. And you could play Tampa 2, and maybe you could mix up some match 3 as well instead of too high. In match 3, you give up one-on-ones outside, but you could just tell the corners like,
get back.
Get back. Don't let them run by you. If they catch it in front of you, we'll try to make tackles and we'll try to get stops before the red zone, but do not let them run by you, right? And Gilbo and Muhammad could maybe pull that off. And then if you play these like different Tampa 2 cover 3 schemes and just play kind of a soft zone all over the field, you can get away with all kinds of stuff like I drew here, where you're bringing 4 in the pass rush and you're just alternating who's coming all the time. So it's like an edge, 2 linemen, and it's Anthony Hill. Or it's 2 defensive linemen, Anthony Hill and Trey Moore up the middle, and Burke and Simmons drop out. Or it's this time we're actually bringing 5 or 6. Surprise. And it's possible that they could just play a soft zone, disguise everything, and bring a gazillion different 4-man zone replacement pressures. And then that way you still get the, we're not going to just give you easy leverage over the top. We're going to keep people back over the top all the time so you can't get one-on-one shots to Jeremiah Smith or anybody else. We're going to try to confuse the heck out of Sahan in his first ever start. We're going to try to get a ton of pressure and make him see if we can get him seeing ghosts, right? Mm-hmm. But we're going to do it in a way where it just defaults to bend, don't break. This makes you a little more vulnerable against the run game, I think. If you're like shifting and slanting a lot, you can just get caught.
Yeah.
This also takes advantage of the defensive line depth. Because if you play this style, it's a little more tiring. But if you're subbing out 3 different line shifts of defensive tackles and saying, give me 20 good snaps where you are really going for it to get over a gap on this slant, then it's more realistic. What do you think? What do you think, Connor?
I love non-traditional Tampas, man. So people will be confused because it's called 2. It's actually a 3 high coverage. If you listen to like Monty Kiffin and stuff, they describe it as it's actually a cover 3 version. And so you're going to take that middle player and he's going to go down into the hole. It's like famous for like Brian Urlacher being able to, it's called climb the pole, drop to the middle. And he doesn't get as deep as a 3 high safety would. He's at the lower end of that, but it's nice. It's nice for disguise. You pointed out in your article, nickel needs to learn how to play kind of that cover 2 safety. But it also puts your nickel in a position where he's not playing a ton of man. He's just kind of rallying and making sure people don't get by him. So that can help too if you're worried about nickel in a one-on-one matchup type of thing. So yeah, I like the non-traditional Tampas, and I like the blend of zone pressure, simulated pressures. I don't want to just line up. I mean, if we can just line up and get to Sahan, great, do that. But we want to try to factor in a young quarterback in a huge game and game 1 and change the picture while remaining safe, right? It gives the aggression of a blitz. It feels like a blitz. It feels like all these stunts are coming, but really you'll notice you still are going to drop 7. So you get a little best of both worlds there.
Yeah.
And you have that Tampa 2 middle of the field player to pick up crossers that, you'll see Brandon Ennis, and he had limited snaps, but I think it was versus Akron. He runs this awesome crosser where he's just running across the field. So it also has a player that can help limit that. So I think this is a really good blend of safety with the illusion of aggression.
This also, if they move Jeremiah Smith around, it's like, okay, like we're playing 2.5 deep zone. Yep. So they'll keep their eyes on you. They'll know where you are. Jackson Miles says we can win by dominating the line of scrimmage. Maybe you could overcome Ohio State's tremendous skill talent if you can dominate the line of scrimmage. I think that's probably true. but you cannot dominate the line of scrimmage against Ohio State. I don't think that's realistic. Like, they have really, really, really talented, well-developed football players on their offensive and defensive lines. Ohio State, good chance they have the better offensive line in this game.
Ohio State's really confident. There's both sides of this. They have a lot of new on there, but a lot of those new guys played in the playoffs together. And they're happy with their depth. Oni Nauer or whatever ends up at like guard depth for whatever reason. But Ohio State feels confident here. If you look at the actual snaps, returning snaps, Texas actually edges out Ohio State by a couple hundred. But it is pretty similar. Nash did a really good chart showing the starts. I can't remember if starts or reps, but these offensive lines are pretty similar in experience, but they got more big game experience at the end of last year.
There's also people, we're kind of assuming that Colin Simmons is ready to be Abdul Carter. He may or may not be there. Like, I know that's
Ian, you don't do yourself any favors with the chat, man.
He might be ready to be the best edge we've seen in college football in years. It's also possible he's not quite there yet in his polish and skill. And it's like not inconceivable that their left tackle could hold up and not look like a bum against him.
That's going to be an
enormous matchup.
Yeah, it is.
If Simmons dominates that matchup, which I think is definitely possible, then that's going to help Texas a lot.
Well, on the right tackle matchup too is also, I mean, the tackles versus edges are interesting.
Texas fans, consider the possibility that their left tackle might be really good, and it may not be possible for Simmons to just completely dominate the game start to finish.
Well, also too, man, Simmons might not be able to dominate because of quick passing or because of schemes or because they're in 12. Like, there's several options too that you can try to limit edges. We'll see what happens on the 3rd and 10s.
If I were them, that's what I would do. If I were them, I would not plan on Sierreveld being a good match for Colin Simmons. I would try to help him as much as I could.
Yeah.
Because if I'm Ohio State, I'm assuming that we may be facing one of the best edges
in the country.
One of the best edges we've ever faced.
Yeah.
But we'll just see.
Yeah. So that's the trick. But I do like the non-traditional Tampa here. I think it's the right mix. And like you said, you also make it less obvious. And that's why it's called a non-traditional Tampa versus a Tampa. So they don't know who's dropping in coverage. They also don't know who's going to rush. They don't know which linebacker is going to drop into the middle zone. Sands having to answer.
Well, maybe none of them, right?
Yeah, but also there's 3 questions here, right? So you're showing this look. Okay, are they just rushing normally? Okay, that's fine. Is that Jack gonna drop for the linebacker? Is that linebacker gonna come? Also, is that nickel gonna go to cover, or is it just gonna drop 2 safeties and you drop the mic? There's like 6 or 7 questions this look generates pre-snap that's interesting. Now, is Stan going to be doing that calculus? No, he's too young to be like, okay, 3 levels.
Even more than that, Connor, because Gilbo played nickel last year.
Yeah.
So Gilbo can play a deep half from corner. And I think that maybe Leongo Lafau and Ty Anthony Smith could make that middle traditional drop if you wanted them to.
Yeah.
And then obviously Taff is obviously great there. McDonald can be great there. So they could get into they could bring like, I don't know, a lot of different versions of this.
Yeah. And so what that happens is
just building on your point that you're already making.
But with all the questions this generates, well, it's not like you're going to be able to teach Julian Sand how to even recognize these questions first. That's the hardest part. And then the second, to answer them. So what that's going to turn into is like, okay, we got to look outside because there's less people outside. So there's less questions. Do we have leverage? So it ends up forcing the quarterback into simplified reads, generally outside, because that's where less people are. Because right here, the middle of the field's a nightmare. You know, it's the same thing they do with downs, but it's like that. There's a lot of trash there, and there's no way to call it. So, okay, is Jeremiah Smith manned up? Maybe if he is, let's go to him. If they do drop back, okay, well, the hitch route's open. So it forces a simplified offense with a young quarterback when this happens. This forces a simplified offense in the NFL. Or how complex it is.
Or the other way, you just spread them out so it gets harder to disguise.
For sure. Hey, yeah. you go veer and shoot. Now I'm gonna know who's where.
You go 5 wide. You go 4 and 5 wide.
That's true. You can go empty.
Yeah. We'll see. I lean towards Texas in this game because of this, which is just how much crap they're gonna throw at Sayin with a lot of good pass rushers. I don't know how used he is to having so many people on the field that are faster than him. He's pretty quick. And when you're a really quick quarterback and you're playing like high school ball, like you can just run around and buy time forever. And that you cannot do that if it's Anthony Hill chasing you, or it's Trey Moore, or it's, God forbid, Colin Simmons. So this has always made me feel better about this game. And I think at the end of the day, it's probably going to be the deciding factor.
This is a big factor, but this is a broad thing I've seen with any type of analysis. So Ian is picking Texas now. I thought he was on OSU. So whenever you're doing analysis, you're doing critical thinking. It's going to almost always have a negative bent because you're worried about your weaknesses versus their strengths, because that's how they're going to beat you. So it's always going to sound negative. It's propaganda. If you go through an hour-long analysis and everything sounds positive, you're not hearing analysis unless you're playing Sam Houston State, who had a couple moments, by the way. Shout out Sam Houston State until McIver took the throne. He's coming to a Power 5 near you. But anyways, it's always going to sound more negative because we are focused on how Texas gets beat, but Ian's providing the answers to solve that. But so it sounds negative, but that's what analysis is trying to focus on where we could get beat.
The enemy tells you who you are. You can't trust yourself. The enemy tells you.
Thank you, man. Thank you for that.
That's like one of the smarter things in a Ender's Game.
Yeah. Yeah. You cracked me up with that Left Behind thing yesterday as a child, but we'll save that off the chat. All right, guys.
You can say it on the chat if people want to know. I don't care.
Ian's just a little dark, brooding child about thinking about the rapture and all of that. And I was just like, you sound like a fun little kid, man.
All right. I don't think that's a good characterization. Now I have to tell people. Paul made a joke about how if there were reports about Texas's nickel that were similar to the reports about Lorenzo Styles, that I would like go into a room with a Topo Chico and Left Behind and like just hide away and read those books, which is a really funny picture. And I told Paul I actually did read those books as a kid, or as like a middle schooler or something, and they're terrible. And I quit reading them because it was so hacky and the dialogue was so bad. And I was like, eventually they're going to write about Jesus coming back to earth, and these hacks are going to write dialogue for Jesus, and I cannot bear to read it. And so I quit reading the books like before the end, which in Connor is interpreting this as like, I'm like a
religious zealot 7-year-old,
or like you're reading me as being like dark and brooding because I couldn't enjoy hack.
I took it more as like, if I wrote Jesus during the rapture, I would write Jesus way better.
No, I wasn't that. I was like, I could write better dialogue. It's just that I know these guys are going to do it really bad.
That's fair enough. I just imagined you said you developed your critical thinking edge from that. So
yeah, that's like I think that's one of the first times when I was like, this is really poorly done.
Yeah. First time you came online, you're like, I just can't believe everything I read. I'm
like, why there's like they kill this character, and I was like, they just killed that character because they didn't know what to do with her. So like the first time I'd ever even had a thought like that, like that's how badly written those books are.
You know what's never badly written? All the incredible articles on InsideTexas.com. Recruiting, analysis, team news. Guys, the season is here, and we are dropping a ton of articles daily. You guys do not want to miss it. You can get Inside Texas for $1 for your first week. As a bonus, your membership includes a complimentary year to The Athletic. Always sweetening the pot. Guys, Tuesday already happened. You guys are really good with calendars. But guess what? Wednesday is happening today in Dallas at the Katy Trail Icehouse. I will be there 5 p.m. Hopefully, I'll be there at 5 p.m. It's going to be fun coming from Denton in that rush hour traffic. But I'm looking forward to it. Also, the food menu looks really good. Drink menus, all that stuff. You guys have a good time. If you're on the board, come see the people that you interact with. If you're a YouTube channel subscriber, come hang out, guys. You're invited as well. If you don't subscribe to both, what are you doing, man? Just click a button. It's not that hard. See you tonight in Dallas. Tomorrow is going to be at Little Woodrow's in Austin, Texas, starting at 5 as well. All the addresses and specific locations are in the description below, so you'll know exactly where to go. Buy Paul's book, guys. Thinking Texas Football. It is the #1 preview in the entire universe for Texas football. Smart, insightful, funny. You're going to get some historical references. You're gonna be a smarter fan after it. Ian, thank you so much, guys. Chat,
I'm going to be there Thursday.
Oh, main man Ian. I think Joe will be there. I think Evan will be there for the Austin crew. So go hang out.
LC is like running it, isn't he?
Yep. LC is going to be at each one. I've never met LC in person. It's weird. We've been working together on video, talk on the phone, all that time. This will be the first time I'm actually meeting LC in person. So that'll be cool.
Same.
All righty, guys. Thank you so much, chat. You guys are awesome as usual. This was IT Live, and it was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have a wonderful Wednesday, y'all. Peace.